across time. 4 girls, 1 Halloween night. This isn't Stranger Things. This is Stranger. This is Paper Girls.
Hello, agents, and welcome back to Top Secret Inc. I'm your host, Thorne Bishop, decoding the weird, the wild, and absolutely mind-bending corners of the comic book world. Today, we're cracking open the classified files on Paper Girls Volume 1, written by Brian K. Vaughan and drawn by Cliff Chiang, 2 names that are basically comic book royalty. If you thought delivering newspapers was boring, buckle up, because this story is anything but a quiet ride through the suburbs. We're talking about a sci-fi adventure that jumps timelines, dabbles in cryptic languages, and stars 4 fierce girls from the 1980s who are just trying to make sense of reality that's completely falling apart. Oh yeah, and by the way, they're 12 years old, so let's break it down.
Before we dive deeper into the mission, let's pull the files on the key players: heroes, villains, rogues, and wildcard operatives. This is the subject profiles. Erin Ting, the reluctant anchor, the new girl on the route, and our POV character. Erin's journey begins with uncertainty and escalates into full-blown survival as she battles the fear of growing up and meeting her future self. Mac Coyle, the street-smart sentinel. Brash, blunt, and bold, Mac's the group's first paper girl and their de facto tank. She's not just tough, she's the edge that cuts through the chaos. KJ Brandman, the silent strategist. Quiet but watchful, KJ's intelligence is her superpower. As the story unfolds, it's clear she sees more than she says. And when she speaks, it matters. Tiffany Quilkin, the tech oracle. Gamer, planner, and voice of reason. Tiff's the one who keeps the team grounded in logic, even when reality goes full Twilight Zone. Future Erin, the shattered self. A vision of what's to come. Older Erin is broken, disillusioned, and possibly dangerous. She forces young Erin to confront a terrifying question. Is this who I become? The old-timers, the chrono cult. Cloaked in alien garb, these cryptic mutants seem to oppose technological advancement. But are they villains or rebels from a forgotten timeline? The teen agents, the neon resistance. Sleek, silent, and strangely sympathetic, these young warriors speak in glyphs and tech. Their war is not just over time, it's over truth itself.
In issue 1, right off the bat, we're thrown into this crazy dream with our main character, Erin. And I mean, it's a weird dream. She's on what looks like the moon holding an apple, and for some reason she's standing there barefoot in a one-piece bathing suit. So let's just roll with it for now. Then she's confronted by a woman named Krista McAuliffe from Starship Columbus, wearing a spacesuit with massive white angel wings out the back. Krista drops the bombshell on Erin, telling her that she's dead and she's on her way to heaven, but her little sister's currently in hell. And the only way to save her is to get to hell and answer a question correctly from the devil himself. But Erin, being the badass she is, goes down to hell and ends up telling the devil to go F off. And what does the devil do? He straight up murders her sister with a claw right through the face. Yeah, talk about a rough start to this story. Luckily, it was all just a dream. Erin wakes up at 4:40 a.m., heads downstairs to the kitchen, and gets ready for her job as a paper girl. She grabs a huge stack of papers, hops on her bike, and heads out for her morning route. This is where things get interesting. It's November 1st, the morning after Halloween, and she gets confronted by 3 teenagers in costumes. One of them is dressed like Freddy Krueger. So this Freddy Krueger guy starts giving her a hard time. But right when it's about to go south for her, 3 other paper girls show up. And get this, Erin has never met them before. The leader of the group, named Mackenzie, or Mac, tells Freddy where to go, and she's got some dirt on these guys, so they end up backing off. They decide to do their paper routes together. They figure there's safeties in numbers, especially at 5 a.m. the day after Halloween. To get the routes done faster, they split up into teams of 2. Tiffany, one of the girls, has an extra walkie-talkie that she shares with the other team so that they can stay in touch, just in case things go sideways. In the next scene, we see 3 guys dressed all in black, and they look exactly like that Mumra guy from the Thundercats cartoon. Meanwhile, Erin is teamed up with Mackenzie and they get pulled over by a police officer. The cop apparently knows Mac and her family well, and he doesn't seem to like her very much. There's some serious bad blood here. At this point, Mackenzie's walkie-talkie goes off, and all you can hear is Tiffany screaming for help in the background. It sounds like she's getting beaten up by one of those Mumra guys. Then the radio goes completely silent. The girls end up finding Tiffany, and she looks like her knee got injured pretty bad, but she seems to be mostly okay. Mac, though, is not having any of it. She grabs the walkie-talkie and threatens the guys who did this. She lets them know that they're coming back to get that radio they stole. The girls end up at a construction site, and they find a house with a door that's wide open. Once they get inside, they find that this house is completely destroyed. They hear weird beeping noise, and they go into the basement and find this massive machine underneath a black sheet. This thing is bigger than a car, and when they touch the sheet, it kind of feels like skin. When they pull that sheet off, you know what they find? A spaceship. Just like something out of the Doctor Who TV show. Of course, one of the girls has to go and touch the ship, and there's this huge explosion of light. The girls get freaked out and run out of the house. But when they go outside, they realize the sky has changed. It's no longer black. It's this crazy pink and purple color, and there's all these stars everywhere. And if it's not bad enough, in the distance they see those Mumra guys with the black cloths on. The girls run up to confront them, but one of the Mumra guys punches KJ right in the face, and this sends Mac into a rage. She rips the mask off one of them, and what's underneath it is absolutely terrifying. Their faces are deformed, covered in boils, and it looks like they have some kind of cybernetics or microchips on their foreheads. The Mumra guy's just not happy about this, and he grabs Mac by the throat and starts choking her. But Tiffany, being the tough girl she is, grabs her field hockey stick and whacks the guy right across the head with it. Mac, in a state of fear, starts to convulse and puke all over the street, and the Mumra guys use this as an opportunity to get out of there. As they flee, they drop something on the ground that looks like a makeup compact, but it's not. All we know is that it's black with an Apple logo on it. What is this device? And who are these deformed guys? The second issue starts off with a Mumra guy running for his life through a suburban neighborhood, clutching a parcel like it's the last slice of pizza in the box. He thinks he's home free, leaping over a fence into a backyard, but then he hears it, a loud flapping sound. And what does he see? Not a seagull, not a pigeon, but a massively oversized pterodactyl. And I got a bad feeling about this. I mean, really. Immediately next, it cuts into a new scene with a wooden fence absolutely covered in blood. Yeah, Mumra didn't make it. The parcel, now a total casualty, burst opens and spilled all over the floor. And it's a bunch of retro junk, old telecom electronics, a landline phone, a receiver, FM radio, and stuff like that. Then out of nowhere, we see a chrome hand reaching down to snatch up a single walkie-talkie. The scene then shifts back to the girls at Erin's house, and things are getting weird. No one's home. Not even the parents. At 5 o'clock in the morning, they're gone. Mac, being the smart one, tries to call the police, but all she gets is a dial tone and this looping recorded message from the emergency broadcast system telling them that everyone to evacuate the town. Total panic mode, right? The girls are completely freaking out at this point. Mac apparently takes charge of the situation and says, listen, we got to go back to my place. She knows her dad has a gun stashed away in the house. So they ditch the newspapers, hop on their bikes, and just get out of there. But of course, they don't get very far. On their bike ride to the house, they bump into some dude in a Wolfman mask and a Guns N' Roses t-shirt. And you think he's a monster, but nah, he's just some teenager still out trick-or-treating from last night. And he's just staring up into the sky. And you know what he sees? Hundreds of those same giant pterodactyl, oversized birds circling right above them. The girls start to freak out. They leave the kid behind as they pedal for their lives. Now they're panicking at a huge level. Finally, they ended up getting to Mackenzie's house. And what do they find? Her stepmom, completely hammered, going on some crazy rant over her husband abandoning her. And this is where it gets crazy, guys. You're not even gonna believe this. The mom, in a fit of hysteria, pulls out a gun she found in the house and starts waving it around in front of the kids, then puts it to her own head like she's hysterical, saying she can't do this alone, and she's just about to pull the trigger. Mackenzie, in a pure moment of desperation, freaks out and tries to grab the gun. They're struggling for it, back and forth with this weapon, and then there's a loud bang and a whole lot of crying. Jumping into issue number 3, it starts off with a boy on a football field holding a Terminator mask, staring into the distance at the sky, and what he sees is absolutely insane. It's a wormhole made of clouds with a bunch of those pterodactyl-like creatures flying out of it in the distance. Then a girl runs up, recognizes him, and tells him in a hysterical panic that she was just with people and they just vanished. The boy, trying to be a hero, says he'll help keep her safe and plants a big wet kiss on her. She shoves him off, letting him know she's not interested and to keep his hands to himself, saying, "I wouldn't touch you if you were the last man on earth." But things are about to get way worse. One of those giant flying murder birds lands on the field, and there's a dude riding on its back. He's wearing all chrome armor and points this massive shiny staff at the two teenagers. Suddenly, lights start flashing off the staff, and the kids just disintegrate. This guy looks almost exactly like Virgil from WWF Wrestling, which is absolutely bizarre. Then we're back at Mackenzie's house, and the situation is grim. The gun went off during the struggle with her stepmom, and now Erin is bleeding from a gunshot wound in her stomach. There's blood everywhere, and she's collapsed on the ground while the kids are arguing back and forth of what to do. They know they need to get her to a hospital, and Tiffany has this wild idea. She says, "I can drive. I saw my sister drive once with my dad in the car." So they lug Erin into the backseat of the car bleeding and get Tiffany behind the wheel, and they start driving through the streets, which is now filled with those murder birds up in the air. They're swerving to avoid them, and while they're talking back and forth and Erin is deliriously bleeding, they don't even know where they're going. None of them know where the hospital is. At this point, we go into a cutscene where Erin is having another dream. She's now dreaming about Ronald Reagan, telling her not to worry about her pen pals and prioritize her paper route. It's like a literal cry from her subconscious to stay alive long enough just to get to the hospital. Suddenly, Tiffany slams the brakes and fishtails the car. And standing right in front of them is Virgil, the dude with the shiny chrome armor and the staff. He pulls out a small circular device and places it against his throat, and uses it to translate his future English to the present day English. Apparently, this dude is trying to do some time travel damage control. He tells the girls to just stay calm, and that all he wants to do is wipe their memories so that they can't remember any of this happening. But once again, the girls, they're not having it. They jump out of the car and one of them pulls the gun on Virgil. And just when you think you know what's coming, bam, Virgil's head explodes. The girls look around confused because it wasn't them. It was one of those mum-raw dudes with the laser pistol who blew out Virgil's brains out. Like, this is messed up. The girls now have a gun pointed at the mum-raw guy. And as a sign of good faith, Mum-Ra puts the laser pistol on the ground and takes off his mask to identify himself. Their faces are wrinkled and deformed with boils and cybernetics just like before. He grabs a circular translator off the ground and tells the girls to chill out. They're just teenagers, like them. Now we're stepping into issue 4. This issue kicks off with an old dude who looks a lot like Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead, rocking a Public Enemy t-shirt. He's in bed, and suddenly his rotary phone, which looks like a red apple, starts ringing. He picks it up, and on the other end is a woman in a big, shiny, chrome-armored suit. She's standing next to a giant murder bird with a large, shiny staff and a decapitated Virgil on the floor. It looks like she's reporting the death of her partner to Jerry Garcia, who responds with a simple, "We can't risk another C-Day." Which we could only assume that C-Day is some kind of word for like a world-ending event involving time travel. The next scene cuts and we're now in the sewer tunnels with the girls and the two deformed Mum-Ra guys. One of the Mum-Ra guys is carrying the bleeding Erin. They tell the girls that they can save her and heal her wounds. As they walk through the sewer, that crazy futuristic telecom device that translates the future English into the present English suddenly starts beeping like crazy. The second Mumra guy realizes that the transmitter has a built-in tracking device, so he totally destroys it. But it's too late. They start to hear loud noises coming from the sewer water. A giant green beholder from like that Dungeons and Dragons game with long green tentacles and square eyeballs on each tentacle flies through the tunnel. And it's like one of those oh shit moments. This Timu beholder is absolutely crazy. He goes straight for Tiffany. One of its tentacles wraps around her throat, choking her, and she's grasping for air as she gets these flashbacks of her life playing outside, like ripping on a Nintendo Entertainment System and getting yelled at by her parents. Then she suddenly feels this instant disappointment of all she's achieved in life. But then, KJ, in a total moment of clutch heroism, hoping it'll help, runs up and tackles Tiffany to the ground into the sewer water. KJ manages to pull out one of the tentacles right out of the beholder's neck, saving Tiffany's life. But now they're wet and stinking of sewage. At this point, the other Mumra guy grabs his pistol and shoots the beholder 3 or 4 times, killing it and leaving its corpse in the sewer. The girls are now safe for the moment, and so is the Mumra guy who got shot. Luckily, he only got a flesh wound. Eventually, they exit the sewer tunnel into a forest and come across an exact replica of that futuristic time-traveling machine, the one that looked like the Timu TARDIS from the Doctor Who TV show. The Mumra guy puts his arm into this organic slot into the machine, and after a bunch of beeping and hissing, a door opens up. The 2 Mumra guys take Erin inside, and the door slams shut behind them. The machine starts to vibrate and then disappears into thin air, leaving the remaining girls absolutely pissed off because they just got ditched and their new friend just was kidnapped. And now it's time to add to the chaos. From high above, we can see several of those murder birds with the chrome-armored people on their backs, all holding those crazy chrome staffs. Issue 5's got to be the craziest out of all of them in this trade paperback. We start off with a first-person view of Erin from inside the time capsule. It looks like they've landed in some kind of inventory warehouse with a huge power generator that's got this massive apple symbol on it. Then the 2 Mumra guys pop their heads into the capsule, and for the first time they introduce themselves with their real names. Erin is strapped down into this organic-looking capsule, and she notices all these weird bugs hovering over her gunshot wound. But guess what? They're not hurting her. They're actually healing her stomach. She finds out that they're not even on Earth anymore. They're up in space, and they're on the run. After talking to these 2 guys, she learns that they're like futuristic Robin Hoods, borrowing items from the past and redistributing the wealth in the future. And they're being hunted by a group of people called the Elders. At this very moment, the Elders find their location in space. One of the Mumras quickly reprograms the computers to get them out of there as fast as possible. They do manage to escape, and at this time the capsule phases back to the basement of the abandoned house. Back on Earth, we cut to the remaining 3 girls, Mac, KJ, and Tiffany, racing back to the abandoned house. Suddenly, a giant murder bird appears, ridden by a woman in a bright, shiny, chrome armor suit with a big chrome staff. She looks like a character right out of that movie Heavy Metal. And her face looks almost like Gina Carano. So we're going to call her Gina from now on. So Gina gets off the bird and starts walking towards the girls, trying to explain the situation and telling them to calm down. The girls, of course, aren't having it again, so Tiffany pulls out the gun and points it right at her. Gina, at this point, takes her staff and puts it on the ground. And Mackenzie goes to pick it up, and it accidentally goes off. The ray beam hits the ground, causing a huge explosion that sends Gina flying into a tree, knocking her out cold. The murder bird decides to get the hell out of there before it becomes the next victim. Shortly after, Gina wakes up and calls Jerry Garcia to let him know that the girls got away. Now we end up back in another scene, another disturbing dream from Erin. Here she's a little kid, maybe about 3 or 4 years old, and she walks into the living room to find her dad with his hands in his face crying. She asks him, "Dad, like, what's wrong?" And he says, "I'm always scared. we're always terrified. When then he removes his hands from his face and we see that he has no skin on his face and blood is everywhere. And that's when Erin wakes up. Back in the capsule with the bug still healing her stomach, the two Mumra guys have somehow been partially merged with the organic spaceship. Their emergency time travel flight had some kind of programming error, and they got stuck inside the machine as it phased back into the house. Now they're slowly dying, but they do tell Erin how much respect they have for her and her friends, saying that they remind them of younger versions of themselves. Then, both Mumras die and start to get absorbed into the time machine. Erin starts to completely freak out, trapped into the ship with two corpses. Then the straps come loose from the chair. She jumps out of the chair and starts banging on the door. Luckily, it opens up, and all the four girls are back together again in the basement. From outside the house, they hear a man's voice. Guess what? It's Jerry Garcia, with Gina, of course, and one of those murder birds. Jerry gives this elaborate speech explaining that the Mumras are just juvenile delinquents messing up time by stealing artifacts. He says that the elders are trying to fix the timeline and the girls need to calm down and come outside so that they can have their memories wiped. Of course, the girls don't buy this bullshit. Suddenly, lights start flashing inside the house, and the entire house disappears in a flash of light, leaving a massive hole in the ground. In the next scene, the girls are falling out of the sky and land on a concrete floor in the middle of the road. But wait, there's only three of them. We got Mac, Erin, and Tiffany, and no spaceship. They land in the middle of the road and a car stops in front of them. A woman gets out, and one of the girls trying to explain what's happening, only to find out that the older woman is actually Erin from the future.
They told us not to ask questions. They said the files were corrupted, the intel classified, the case closed. But we kept digging. Welcome to Black Box Theories, where the facts don't add up, the coincidences aren't random, and the truth, buried under layers of denial. Strap in, agent. You're not supposed to hear this. Theory 1. The paper girls are future warriors. Classification: high probability. The girls aren't just caught in the time war. They're destined to win it. Clues in Volume 1, including their natural resistance to memory wipe tech and direct interference with time travelers, suggest they may evolve into the resistance leaders themselves. Theory 2. Mac's fate is already sealed. Classification: plausible. Hints about Mac's health, her attitude toward the future, and subtle foreshadowing suggest she may be marked for tragedy. Could her tough demeanor be hiding a terminal secret? Theory 3. Future Erin is an unreliable ally. Classification: confirmed risk. Older Erin seems more confused than helpful, and her version of the truth might be skewed. What if she's already been manipulated by the old-timers or betrayed her younger self once before? Theory 4. The language is alien tech encryption. Classification: speculative. The strange glyph-based language used by the teens may not be a dialect, but an AI-generated encryption to mask sensitive info from time interlopers like the paper girls. Theory 5. Tiffany is a future coder of the tech. Classification: long shot. Tiffany's tech affinity and quick understanding of the devices hint she may grow up to design, crack, or even invent time travel tech, unknowingly causing the very conflict they're trapped in.
Each of the four girls has a clear voice and a distinct personality. Erin's the new girl, curious, has anxiety, and is quietly brave. Mac is the cynical rebel, always ready to throw a punch or drop a curse word at somebody. Tiffany's tech-savvy and cautious, and KJ's introspective and strong. She's the one that holds the emotional core of the group. As chaos unfolds, their flagship tightens, showing us how trauma bonds people. Even though they come from different backgrounds, they form a makeshift sisterhood that's believable, heartfelt, and powerful. Brian K. Vaughan writes snappy, natural dialogue. It never feels forced, even when the plot gets wild. The way the girls talk feels straight out of 1988, but somehow timeless. Cliff Chiang's art is absolutely stellar. Bold lines, clean storytelling, and character expressions that hit. Combined with Matt Wilson's neon-drenched colors, you get the pages that pulse with sci-fi energy and nostalgic warmth. Think Lisa Frank meets Blade Runner.
Some intel doesn't belong in the open. When a story gets too twisted, too dangerous, or just too damn weird, we file it under red. This is the Red Files, classified content, high-risk statistics, and the kind of secrets you don't unsee once exposed. Proceed with caution, Agent. Red File 1, Secret Origin Paper Girls was originally pitched by Brian K. Vaughan as a fusion of Stand By Me and War of the Worlds. Nailed it. Red File 2, Cliff Chiang's Color Code. Every time a time disruption happens, colorist Matt Wilson uses a specific pink and purple palette. Subtle visual cues for temporal instability. Red File 3, BMX Authenticity. Check, all 4 girls ride era-accurate 1980s BMX bikes, meticulously referenced from real models like the Schwinn Predator and Diamondback Viper. Red File 4, Strange Language Decoded fans actually translated the alien language from the teens using recurring glyph patterns. Turns out, they were speaking highly abbreviated English in code. Red File 5, Vaughan's Wild Theory. In interviews, Brian K. Vaughan teased that the real war isn't between factions, but between versions of the same timeline, fighting over which future survives.
Paper Girls might start in a sleepy suburb, but that illusion breaks really fast. Vaughan drops you in a world where the time is fragmented, enemies are unknowable, and nothing is really safe. It's got this E.T. meets the War of the Worlds vibe, where danger lurks right beneath the street lamps. The tone? It walks that tightrope between the coming-of-age drama and the mind-bending time travel mystery. It's weird, eerie, and it's deeply human. This book is drenched in symbolism. Time obviously plays a huge role, but it's not just literal. The story questions what growing up really means. Like, who do we really become? Can we trust ourselves in the future? The pink skies, fractured language hint at some kind of miscommunication between generations, ideologies, even within ourselves. And the bikes? They're more than just transportation. They represent freedom, power, and control in a world where these girls are supposed to have absolutely none.
Welcome to Operation Smokescreen, where the lies unravel and the real story begins. These aren't just plot twists, they're strategic deceptions buried beneath the panels. Hidden motives, double crosses, and narrative ambushes, we expose them all. Classified spoilers ahead, Agent. Let's break the illusion. Smokescreen 1, The Night of a Thousand Skies. Just when the paper route feels like the weirdest part of the night, Erin, Mac, KJ, and Tiffany witness something straight out of a sci-fi nightmare. A strange object falling from the sky. But instead of a meteor, it's a bizarre time capsule-looking pod. The girls are suddenly swept into a reality where the quiet suburban streets are now crawling with strange figures in biohazard suits, and nothing feels safe anymore. Smokescreen number 2, Strangers in Our Own Time. Those creepy figures stalking the neighborhood? Not aliens, not government agents, teenagers from the future. The twist comes when the girls realize these strange intruders are just as scared and desperate as they are, hunted by something far worse. The revelation turns enemies into potential allies and raises the unsettling question: who's really in control of this war across time? Smokescreen number 3, When the Future Bled into Morning. It's not just people jumping through time, the entire timeline is breaking. Suddenly, prehistoric pterodactyls, futuristic tech, and impossible creatures are all appearing in the same neighborhood. One moment, the girls are running past split-level houses, the next, they're ducking under giant winged predators. The small-town normalcy is officially gone, replaced by a bizarre overlapping history lesson from Health. Smokescreen number 4, A Message from Tomorrow. Amid the chaos, Tiffany stumbles across a mysterious piece of tech, a futuristic communication device. When the girls power it up, they see cryptic messages that appear to be from themselves, only older. The realization that their future selves might be guiding or manipulating them adds a mind-bending layer to their mission. Are they saving themselves or walking straight into a trap? Smokescreen number 5, No Way Back to Yesterday. The ultimate gut punch comes when the girls realize they might not be able to return to their own time. Every leap forward or backward seems to push them further from home. By the end of Volume 1, they're flung into a version of the future unlike anything they imagined, one that forces them to face the idea that the life they knew is gone for good.
Paper Girls dropped at a perfect time. In 2016, pulp culture was deep into 80s nostalgia. Stranger Things, Ready Player One, synthwave soundtracks, but Vaughan flips that trend. This isn't like a cute throwback. It's an unraveling of myth of the 80s as a golden age. Generation-wise, it's a fusion of sci-fi, horror, girl power, indie drama. Imagine Doctor Who, Stand By Me, and The X-Files if they had a time-traveling baby and gave it like a BMX bike. If you like Stranger Things, then you'll love the group dynamics and retro vibe, but Paper Girls gets weird faster. It also has that same genre punch as Saga, another Vaughan masterpiece. Both start small and then go absolutely cosmic. And if you've read Something is Killing the Children, you'll feel that tension again. Kids facing down monsters and secrets adults can't even begin to understand. Critics praised Paper Girls for its sharp writing, stunning art, and fresh take on time travel storytelling. It quickly built a loyal fan base, leading to multiple collected volumes and even a short-lived Amazon Prime series back in 2022. While the show didn't stick the landing, the comic's legacy as a cult hit remains really strong. It's a favorite of comic shops and in classrooms for a real good reason. It challenges without overwhelming, and it's full of heart.
All right, agents, intel has been gathered, dossiers reviewed, and it's time to declassify the best of the best. Welcome to the awards segment, where we spotlight the operatives, wild cards, and game-changing moments that made this mission unforgettable. Let's hand out some top secret honors.
Top Operative Award, Mac Coyle. Absolutely no contest. Mac steals every panel she's in. Her sharp tongue and hardened exterior are magnetic. But under that attitude is a tragic backstory and a fiercely loyal heart. She's the engine of the group, even when she's pushing everyone away. Dark Horse Award, KJ Brandman. KJ doesn't say much at first, but when she does, it hits hard. She is observant, thoughtful, and slowly becomes the emotional anchor. Her silence hides strength, but by the end of this volume, you see she's got layers we haven't even scratched at. Spyglass Sequence Award, Erin meets Erin. The final scene, absolute chills. Erin comes face to face with her older self. Is this kind of moment that makes you slam the book shut and say, what the hell just happened? It's surreal, emotional, and terrifying, because deep down inside, we all fear who we might become. Okay, let's talk shop. Paper Girls Volume 1 is one of the most genre-bending books you'll find on the shelves. It blends time travel and teenage angst with mystery that refuses to hand you any easy answers. What are the strengths? Obviously the characters, the art, the sheer originality of the world building. It keeps you guessing, but never loses you. It's cryptic, but never confusing. What would I consider the weaknesses to be? This isn't a complete story in Volume 1. It ends on a big cliffhanger, so if you're looking for something that ends pretty quickly, you're completely out of luck. Also, the invented language might be a turnoff for some readers who don't like dealing with puzzles. But for those who like their comics bold, brainy, and brimming with that 80s attitude, this is definitely for you. Whether you're a fan of sci-fi, coming-of-age tales, or just love a good ensemble cast, Paper Girls is a must-read. I'm giving this a final score of 8.7 out of 10. It's a thrilling ride through time with trauma of 4 girls who don't back down. If this breakdown had you jumping through your emotions, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. Drop your favorite time travel story in the comments, or tell me which Paper Girl you'd want covering your back. And remember, agents, Top Secret Inc., or even your newspaper route could lead you to the end of time. We'll see you next time.